What's up, A Page? Safo. I'm two girls in the car here. Um, what I'm gonna be doing first, I want to talk about something I didn't get a chance to talk about yesterday. This is a Black Hawk holster, a little small holster feature. It's it has multiple purposes. Now it normally goes inside of I have um, a Moab 10 sling pack, and it has a feature in there, like there's a front section where you can conceal a pistol, and you can just stick a pistol directly in the pouch. It's no problem, and it works great in that capacity. But they also have this little piece that I bought here, this little holster, and this is actually a holster piece that goes in there. You see how it has Velcro on the outer edges, and that's to help stick to the Velcro paneling that's inside the pouch. But it also has a belt loop here, and yesterday I pretty much had it on, and I may wear it today because I was painting my Glock, and my Glock 17 is my primary carry, daily carry. So since it was, I was working on it, I couldn't carry it, and I'm waiting on the Safari. I just got this SIG pistol. I haven't had it that long, but I was waiting on my Safariland holster and some other gear to get here, and so anyway, I had to carry the SIG because I never leave the house unarmed. I just, for no particular reason. That's the way I live. So I had to have something with me, and I'm not real big on having a whole bunch of handguns. I like to have one that works, two that works, that I'm good with, that I train with a lot. So that's more important to me than having a whole bunch of guns. It's just being well trained with the guns you do have. And I look at firearms pretty much like a sword. A lot of people kind of buy guns. It's cool to buy it's cool to buy guns, collect them. It's cool if you're a gun enthusiast or whatever. That's all good. But you still, whatever your primary firearm that you carry every day, or that you're gonna, put your life on, trust your life on, then you definitely need to be well trained with that weapon, and you definitely need to know all the ins and outs, and the frailties of the weapon systems, its strengths and its weaknesses. And all pistols, rifles, whatever, all things have pros and cons, and guns are no different. A lot of people, you hear people, and that's kind of what I want to go with this video too. I want to talk about some other things, not so much as a gun review or a gear review. Go ahead and move that out the way. I'll put those up later. This is going to be another one of my kind of gun reviews slash commentaries. Now, what I want to talk about, in addition to what I just covered concerning, the guns and that little holster, I want to talk about safety, and I want to talk about gun myths, and I want to say it is, as unemotional as possible, because it's really not. Sometimes, I look back at some of the videos I do, and I don't like the way I sound, because you never like, most people out here don't like the sound of their own voice, and I'm one of those people. And sometimes it may seem like I'm emotional, and I'm not. It's just, I guess, the way I talk. And I hope people understand that. And people don't know me won't understand that, but I'm telling you, it's rare, no matter how I sound, that I'm emotional about what I'm saying. Sometimes I can be like any other human being, but in most cases it's not that. That's not the case. But what I want to talk about is gun myths, and I want to talk about safety. As far as gun myths, just like what I was telling you about the pistol there being, well trained with the firearm that you carry and trust your life to. Training is the most important thing, y'all. Now, I said this before. The firearms, weapons are nothing but tools, just like shovels for digging, or a machete for, cutting vines or chopping, or axe for chopping wood. It's just a tool. The device, the machine, the mech, whatever it is, in and of itself, it's inanimate. It has no power. It has no thought. It can't do anything, without the person wielding it, or human being, or some type of external input. It can't do anything. And training is so important. And then people always say, well, what is training? Training to do whatever you want, and when I say training, I'm not talking about tactical military type training like a lot of other people do. A lot of people into that. That's cool. They feel like that's going to be a important part of their survival strategy. In the event something happens, and I can understand that. But I'm just talking about training with whatever you're doing. If you in the martial arts, you need to train every day. If you in the weightlifting and working out, then of course you should be training every day doing that. Whatever your objective is. If you're trying to start a business, then you should be training your mind up, and moving in ways that promote doing that. And that's training. If you're into self-defense, you're into firearms, you feel some particular need to carry a firearm for safety, then you should be very familiar with that, because there's a huge responsibility that does go along with carrying a firearm, especially for people with CCWs. I'm not amazed, but there's a huge number of people out here who have guns and don't have training with them, don't know how to use them, and really the gun would probably be more of a detriment to them in an emergency situation than it would be a help. And that being said, again, that goes back to training. One of the things people tell you, with firearms, they're like, I saw somebody saying something the other day. Sometimes I watch videos on YouTube, and I see people talking about their guns. If I'm interested in a new gun and I'm just trying to, see what the reviews are, how people, what people's opinions are on them, you'll see people saying, this gun has never failed me. This gun is, I had no failures. Anytime I hear somebody say that a gun has never failed, then all that tells me is you haven't shot it a lot. You haven't shot it enough, because I don't care if it's a HK, if it's a Dan Wesson $1,200, $2,000 handgun, which is ridiculous price to pay for a handgun. I don't care what it is. The price point is irrelevant. All guns are mechanical devices, and if you shoot them long enough, fast enough, and just run them hard, they will fail. And what's a failure? It's not so much as a gun parts will break, because most guns are just aluminum, steel slide, steel barrel, plastic. You know what I mean? Some guns are all metal, but most guns are polymers. So they got a whole bunch of different little springs and pins on them. So of course things can break. Firing pins can break. Springs can lose their elasticity, if you want to put it. Things can warp from heat. You know what I mean? From the temperature changes. So it's a mechanical device. So if you run it long enough, it will fail. So that's one myth I want to stop too, with people saying my gun and this gun never fail. All guns, Glocks, everything will fail. Everything will have a hiccup. The only thing about it, that's another important aspect of training, because if you train well, then you should train failure drills. You should train to have a response when your gun does this. You need to keep running that gun hard until it has a hiccup, and then when it hiccups, you'll know what to do. It won't be a thing. You just go through your clearance drill and be back in the business. Now, that's the main myth I want to talk about with guns. Now, the second thing I want to get into is the safety issue. A lot of y'all, and I'm not saying people on the software, but just people, period. A lot of people are not serious shooters, and a lot of people don't know the difference. A lot of the videos we put up, we don't put it up on the software for y'all to emulate or to go and do the same thing. We show y'all what we doing. We don't advise, even for legal reasons. We can't advise y'all what to do with firearms. We don't try to give y'all a course of action. We're adults here, and adults make their own decisions. And just like on our team here personally, we all alpha, so everybody got to make their own decision and carry their own weight. And that's the same thing with y'all. And a lot of people come on, and respectfully. Most people come on respectfully. Some people come on, be assholes, and we'll step on them. But people come on with these safety concerns. And I want to say this to y'all. Look, it's a huge difference between being a range shooter and a fighter. It's a huge difference. Like I said, I did a video before. A shooter will never be the killer. And I know killers, and I'm sure a lot of y'all do. And there's nothing proud of about being, killing people. I'm not into that. I don't sell that. I know the pain and suffering that follows with that. I know how families hurt when you kill them, whether you consider them a bad person or they were doing something or not. People got family. Somebody loves everybody. So I know a lot of y'all, people get into tough talk. Well, I don't give a shit. They were doing this and they were doing, so I smoked them. Well, like I said, I know a lot of killers, and when you meet people, especially when they get old in it, and they survive, they come out of prison, or they, even if they come out of war, you'll see a lot of those people have mental illnesses. Those tough guys, they'll be on alcohol, drinking, smoking, doing. Killing people is the worst business you could ever be involved in. I don't care whether you right or not. It's a terrible business. So that's another thing I want to knock out. Just in speaking, that's a little deviation from safety, but I'm always reiterate that. That being said, there's a big difference between being a shooter and a fighter. And a lot of us on this team here, we fighters. You know what I mean? We shoot. That's for fun. But when you talk about in war and in combat, there is absolutely no safety. And if you go into those environments looking for safety, you're gonna die. Just that simple. You're gonna hesitate. You're not gonna do what needs to be done. You're gonna fail your team. You're gonna fail the people that's counting on you, because your fears, your concerns about safety, those extraneous or excessive safety values that people have when they go to these ranges and train, you'll bring that shit over into combat. You'll bring that into self-defense, and you won't do what you think you're gonna do, and you will die. You will be slow. You will hesitate. We used to do drills down in our little training location down in Florida, where we'll, and it was voluntary. People will shoot over people's heads while they have to crawl and engage other targets. And a lot of people opt out of doing it. A lot of people had the fear of doing it. Maybe they didn't trust me. Maybe they didn't trust the team. Like new people. I wouldn't expect new people to do it, but people on the team would do it. Because here's the thing. If you've never been shot at, I don't care how many times you go to the range, you'll never be better than someone who has. Because people who know what it's like to have bullets come past them, to know what it's like to have people wanting to kill them, not playing with them, but wanting to kill them and using a weapon to kill them, those people who had those experiences are going to be far less hesitant than a person who hasn't. I don't care if you've been to the range and you fired 10,000 rounds and you can do sub MOA groups with a handgun at 100 yards. You'll never be the person who's a killer and a person who's been in combat, because they won't have those fears. See, when you at the range, it's all one-sided. You're shooting at paper, you're not getting that return. So you think you're good at what you're doing, but you are good at killing paper, but it's a difference. As far as safety, somebody made a comment today, and I'm respectfully responding to what they said about, never point a gun at yourself or something you're not willing to destroy. That's one of the tenements of safety. The basic gun safety laws are, never point a gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. Never assume a gun is unloaded, and what's that? And keep your finger off the trigger. Keep your finger off the trigger. Don't point the gun at nothing you're not willing to, shoot or destroy. And never assume that the gun is unloaded. When we do videos, we do our own safety checks. Nobody's ever been shot or injured during the course of any of our videos related to guns. So it's really not a concern for people who not there. And I understand people though still when they viewing stuff, they want to see, people kind of feel like, if people going to be watching the videos and you want to put across certain safety concern with them. But if you're on our page, you're not watching this is not a training. Like we tell people, you can take what you want to take from a SOFO, but we're not training y'all. We're not telling y'all what to do. And here's the thing: if you watch Special Forces, if you watch FBI, you watch any people who really have to go into combat train, then guess what? They get guns pointed at them. You know what I mean? The Russian Special Forces, they shoot each other with live rounds. Now you think a person who's never had a round fired at them, or who shivers at the thought of a gun being pointed at them, is going to be able to beat somebody who's been shot, who's been trained to counter fire when they've been hit? You're not gonna make it. You're not gonna make it. I'm telling y'all, it's a huge difference. And I'm saying this, not getting at anybody, and not downing anybody, but there's a big difference between being a range shooter and a combat shooter. It's a whole different world, and a lot of people if they get into those situations, they're not going to do what they think they're going to do. And it's going to be the same thing in the shit hit the fan situation. We train all the time. We point live weapons. We point real weapons at each other. We don't point hot weapons at each other. But we go through our safety procedure, and we don't show that to everybody. That's something, it's my responsibility to make sure I don't kill or injure my friends. It's their responsibility to make sure they don't kill or injure me. We don't dismiss safety values. We just don't go into it with y'all heavy duty online. And if somebody point a gun, you can point a live weapon at me. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. I mean, you can point, and like a lot of y'all, I see people fold up because somebody point a gun at them. If somebody's carjacking me, or if like a corrupt cop points a gun at me for no reason, you think that's not going to make me flinch? That's not going to unnerve me. I'm not going to start shaking and crying like I see some people do. I don't, but that's the difference between me, my team, and a whole bunch of other people. If that shit shake you, you cannot go into combat. You are not a fighter. You're just a shooter. People point live. It'll be people pointing live weapons at me, in the streets with a hammer, with a finger on the trigger. When I was younger, and I was, slipping, and a couple times, but you know what I mean. I didn't have no control over those people doing that. You know what I mean? I do now. I don't let those things happen to me, and they really didn't happen to me that much. But one or two people when I was, 13 or so, they got the drop on me. You know what I mean? But that's different. I couldn't tell them, hey man, could you point your gun a little bit to the left, or could you take your finger off the trigger, or could you uncock the hammer? You know what I mean? Could you not, have that pointed directly in my face? That's not how life works. And if that shit shake you, you're not ready for combat. You're not ready. Then you really need to stick to sports shooting and stick to range training. Don't take those concepts into thinking that you can handle real world situation, because in the real world, people run up on you, people come dumping at you, and if you think 1 second about your own safety, you're gonna lose. When you're in combat, it's not safety, and your life is not your concern. Your concern is what needs to be done to stop this. That has to be your focus. If you're going to be concerned with your safety, in our training we have a huge focus on cover. If somebody opens up on me, then my thoughts towards safety is to take cover, not the fact that they point a gun at me. It's to take cover if I can. If I can't take cover, if I know I'm gonna take these hits, then my thought then transfers over to I need to hit this motherfucker back. If I'm dying, they coming with me. That becomes my sole focus. If I'm already taking rounds, then my whole objective then is to put rounds back on that person. So, like, my family don't be the only family crying at the end. So that's real though. That's how combat works. And if you can't, it's a difference, y'all. When y'all at the range, y'all should practice those safety features and always make sure you don't cross people with the guns. You don't point live weapons at people. You don't keep your finger off the trigger at all times. Always assume your gun is loaded. Those are valid points. But when you're in combat, all that shit go out the window. Switching your gun every time you stop shooting from fire to safe, that shit is senseless to me. That shit is sensitive. There's a whole bunch of practices that have been put into shooting to kind of moron proof it. Because people will have negligent discharges. People will accidentally shoot other people. That shit happens, but that's life. You can slip and fall out the tub and kill yourself. A tree branch could fall out a branch could fall out of a tree and land on your head and kill you. You can't control when you leave this world. You can kind of minimize the chances by practicing safety, but when it's your time to go, you leaving. Alien Black.